Hi, I am Jaclyn Steele, and welcome to Self-Discovery. Howard Thurman so beautifully wrote, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Coming alive. That, my friends, is what self-discovery is all about.
Wear that mask for.
All right, friends. I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but welcome to episode 100 of Self-Discovery with Jaclyn Steele. If you are here right now, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to this podcast that I have poured my life and heart and energy into. You are the reason I keep showing up to the microphone. I keep showing up to my laptop. Your listenership means the world to me. Before I share some of my intentions for season 3 of Self-Discovery, which we are definitely continuing on with the podcast because this has been such a rewarding and beautiful experience, I want to touch on a couple of things. For the 100th episode, I'm doing a big giveaway. I've talked about it on Instagram, on my Instagram profile at Jaclyn Steele. The pictures of the giveaway are on there. And initially, I was going to announce the winners today for episode 100. However, I'm recording this episode a week ahead of time. So to give people a little bit more time to enter the giveaway, I am going to be announcing the winners on Instagram on my profile at jaclynsteele.com. To enter the giveaway, all of the information is in the show notes, but in short, all you have to do is write a review on Apple Podcasts, take a little screenshot, and send it to me at hello@jaclynsteele.com. Again, all that information is in the show notes. I am almost 8 months pregnant, and so I keep running out of breath so easily. Just talking, I'm running out of breath. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, next year is going to be wild. Baby is due mid-February, so we are in for some special stuff in season 3 of this podcast. And I want to outline a few of those changes so that you guys can prepare. I mean, this episode is all about owning your worth in 2022. It's about intention setting and goal setting. And I want to be intentional in every facet of this podcast and so transparent with you guys. And so I want to share with you my intentions for next year and where I really want this podcast to continue going. So First and foremost, we are taking a short break from new episodes from now, when this episode 100 airs, until January 19th. So about 3 weeks of a hiatus. Then on the 19th of January, a new episode will drop, and we will be back to our usual programming of new episodes dropping every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Second, and this is a pretty significant change, is that I'm introducing a theme of the month for every month next year. Each month will carry a theme, and each episode will relate back to that theme. My mission next year is to own my worth. As if you can't tell, I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, but that is the title of this episode. So again, my mission is to own my worth in every area of my life. So each month, the theme stems from elevating our self-worth. I've already booked some podcast guests, and let me just say, it's going to be a really, really powerful season. I'm planning on doing primarily solo episodes. However, I'm leaving space for some super high vibe guests. I believe, have on high vibe guests, but next year, because spots are so limited and I'm only doing like 12 out of 50 episodes that are going to have guests, I'm becoming super picky about what that's going to look like. Third thing I want to tell you guys about is I'm introducing the self-worth sessions. If you can't tell already, I have been so focused on self-worth because I believe it changes the foundation of our lives when our self-worth is high. And these self-worth sessions are going to be monthly Zoom classes that you can sign up for that are centered around the theme of the month. So this is for those of you who just want to go layers deeper and really integrate the information that's being shared on the podcast into your everyday life. They are meant to be a deep dive into the varying themes that I've chosen on self-worth. And then in each self-worth session, we will allow plenty of time for a Q&A so you can get all of your questions asked and answered. And I'm going to try this for at least the first quarter of 2022 and see how it goes and then reassess. If you guys are really liking these classes, I may add more. Maybe we'll do a couple a month. If it seems like nobody's really signing up, I may decide not to do this. But if this is something that you are interested in, if the self-worth sessions are something you're interested in and excited about, let me know. I want to hear your thoughts on this because all of this content I'm creating is for you. So your feedback is absolutely vital. And I will say I'm doing a test run of these self-worth sessions by doing I'm calling it a soul setting, Align and Own 2022 class at the end of December. So December 30th, you can sign up for that class in the show notes. We're going to do a deep dive on intentional soul setting and alignment, and it's going to be so yummy. Would love to have you there if you're interested in it. Fourth, I'm going to send out a graphic each month based on the theme of the month that you can print out and fill in. Again, this is all about getting so super intentional with our lives. This graphic will be beautifully crafted, and it's meant to be so that it can provide a visual reminder of your worth that you can look at every day. Something you can see and use to visualize and internalize every single day. And I'll be sending this out via my email newsletter. Wow, guys. I'll be sending this out to my email newsletter list. This newsletter is called The Scoop. If you haven't signed up yet, you really are missing out because there are so many fun things that I incorporate into this newsletter. But if you want this graphic to help you stay focused on what you're working on next year and freshen it up every single month, you can sign up in the show notes or on my website, jaclynsteele.com. Fifth, and this is a big one. This is not 100% yet, but it's like 98%. I am most likely going to change the name of the podcast from Self-Discovery with Jaclyn Steele to Self-Worth with Jaclyn Steele. The name Self-Discovery has been so wonderful, but my aim right now and what I want to hang my hat on, so to speak, is self-worth. I feel like we are living in a time where low self-worth is like the norm. It's like an epidemic of people not believing in themselves, not shooting for the stars, not becoming who we are capable of becoming because our self-worth is so low. And so self-worth is certainly an element of self-discovery, but I want to go deep and wide with this concept of self-worth, as I truly believe in every cell of my being that our level of self-worth determines the trajectory of our lives. I'm here on this planet to be of service, and I'm feeling very strongly that I can do a lot of good for myself and others in the self-worth department specifically. This decision, again, is not final. However, if I can get all the tech figured out, this change will be coming sometime in February. I'll let you know for certain what the plans are in January when I know more. So you'll have plenty of time, to get your mind around the changes. And then when you go to search for the podcast, I'll let you know ahead of time what name you need to be searching for. Okay. Now let's talk about owning your worth, our worth. in 2022. This episode is all about mindset and planning, okay? And the reason I chose the theme of owning my worth in 2022 is because I've realized that there are some areas in my life where I'm still sitting in the back seat, so to speak. I'm not showing up fully or advocating for myself in ways that show my value. And I know that if I'm doing that, chances are there are some of you that are doing the same, and I want to flip that script. So in the money department, for instance, full transparency, I have been too lax for years, guys. And I mean a good decade, maybe more. I have undercharged or given my time and services away for free. And now with a baby on the way, this low self-worth approach to money is no longer an option. I can't do it. So I've got to fix it, and I've got to do the work to fix it. Another thing I've noticed about myself is that I am really, really comfortable being a student instead of a master. I have been studying personal development, psychology, mindset, self-worth, etc. for 20 years now. I started studying this in high school when my parents were getting divorced, yet I still question my value in speaking on these subjects. I subconsciously play small and use the excuse that I'm still learning instead of saying, I'm always learning and will continue to do so, but I know a heck of a lot on this, and my thoughts are significant. I also do this in real estate investing. My husband and I co-own a real estate investing company, and we are in the midst of growing and scaling. And my husband has so much more experience than I do in real estate. And so I keep taking a backseat to his plans. Now, this is not an unwise move in some ways. However, when I have a gut instinct, it's my job to move on it. It's not his job. It's my job. And I can't keep waiting until I feel like I will be ready, whenever that is. I know you guys understand what that feels like. So all this to say, owning my worth next year is all about advocating for myself, taking back and stepping into my own personal power, and acting like a woman who values her mind, her body, her thoughts, her ideas, her work, her style, her look, her life. Does this make sense? Can you relate? I feel like I'm so not alone in this. Now, owning your worth is a big concept, and I get that. So in my intention setting for 2022, I made a plan, and I'm going to go over it with you. Man, I'm just like tripping over my words today because I'm excited to share this information with you. But if you haven't listened to episode 98 about creating space for New Year intention setting, I highly recommend listening to that first. It's about setting the tone for a high self-worth planning experience. In addition, the last episode of season 1 of Self-Discovery last year was all about nitty-gritty prep work and goal setting for 2021, and a lot of that information still applies today. So if you're feeling like you want to get super detail-y, I'm not going super detail-y on today's episode, but I did in the last episode of season 1 last year. So check that out if you're wanting a little bit more. Here is the way I went about planning to own my worth in 2022. And I want to keep this really as simple as possible because I know if you are anything like me and you're type A, you want all the T's to be crossed and the I's to be dotted and everything to be in line and to know how every minute of every day of every month next year is going to be planned out and how it's going to look. And from life experience, that's just not fully possible. And I find that when I scale back and I keep things simple, I'm actually able to stick to my intentions. So I'm going to go over, seven different things. And again, 7 sounds like a lot, but a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. I just want to make sure that I address them because, again, the simplicity, there's so much power in simplicity. So much. So the first thing that I feel like is so important when planning to own your worth, or just planning whatever kind of year you want, is to decide on a theme for the year. Obviously for me, it is owning my worth. Whatever you are feeling in your gut that you want for next year, that's what your theme should be. Own that. It could be financial independence, or body love, or owning your own business. I like this idea of introducing a theme because it's the umbrella for everything else. And I used to make goals that were all over the place. And now I'm committed to going narrow and deep instead of wide and shallow. If you are stuck on this, ask yourself how you want to feel next year. Another reason I like the idea of deciding on a theme for the year is when life gets busy and we're in June and you have forgotten the nitty-gritty details of the goals. You can go back to your theme and remind yourself of what you want to feel and get back on track, rather than trying to align yourself with 20 different goals. Okay. Number 2, after deciding on my theme, I wrote out the areas in which I want to own my worth. So write out the areas in which you want to work on your theme of the year. I touched on this, but I actually wrote out finances, body, aging process, grace from my body after giving birth, boundaries with my family, boundaries with the baby so that I can still prioritize time for myself and my own projects that fuel me and inspire me and keep me going and give me life. Whatever your theme is, this is the step where you break it down into how you want that theme to play out. Again, if you're wanting to go deeper on this, join the class that I have created. The link is in the show notes. It'll also be all over my social media accounts and in my newsletter, but it's called Align and Own Your Worth in 2022. And we're going to do that class on December 30th. And if for some reason you can't make the actual class, you can still sign up and then request a Zoom recording, and I will send you a recording of that class. It's going to be about an hour. Number 3, next, I did areas with room for improvement. Read. This is not a section where you beat yourself up, okay? These are the areas for me in which I am not owning my worth and how I can actively correct that. Make sense? So whatever your theme is, this is where you write down the areas where there's just some room for improvement and how you are going to improve. So for me, I have moving from always being the student to owning my mastery and refusing to shrink in scenarios where I feel insecure, and instead play big in those scenarios. Charging in every scenario what I am worth. So right now, I have several different income streams, and making sure that I'm intentional in all of those, that I'm charging what I am worth. Because when I charge what I am worth, I'm valuing my time and my intellect and what I've learned and what I'm giving. I also wrote down working on my business instead of in my business, meaning not getting caught up in the minutia, but focusing on the big picture and regularly asking, is this moving the needle forward or is this a distraction? I think I have a little bit of ADHD that is self-diagnosed, but it does run in my family. And so asking myself these questions and checking in makes sure I'm still focusing on my theme for the year, which is owning my worth. So in all of these areas, I can ask myself, am I owning my worth here? How is this working? How can I improve? What can I do better? You get the idea. We aren't beating ourselves up for not being 100% in these areas. We are simply acknowledging our starting point for the new year and then checking in periodically and going, okay, how do I continue to make incremental improvements? Number 4, I love this one. Who do you want to be a year from now? This is like the really fun part. This is where you create the future and bring it into the present. Envisioning the woman or man you want to be and want to become is really, really powerful. And it doesn't have to be someone you turn into 12 months from now. You can pull that person into this very moment. What do they look like? How do they dress? What kind of mindset do they have? How do they act at home by themselves and with loved ones? How do they act in public? What do they smell like? What are they passionate about? What are they excited about? Create this avatar and get super specific with it and pull it energetically toward you. Embody this person now as much as you possibly can, and you will be floored when you look back a year from now and see the transformation. When I think about who I was at the beginning of 2021, sure, my core personality is the same, but the way that I am carrying myself is so different. This has been such a year of transformation, such a year in which I've focused on my self-worth, and I have come so far. Number 5, with this amazing person in mind, now is the time to write your intentions. So you're becoming this incredible person, and from that incredible person's perspective, that's where you write your intentions. I personally did this in 7 areas: relationships, professional goals, service to others, health, finance, happiness of family and friends, like how am I contributing to their happiness, and then how I'll inject joy into what I do for a living. These categories are based on an article about the 7 pillars of a happy life. So I took those 7 pillars and wrote a sentence or 2 for each, and then I'm reading them every day to reiterate. Again, 7 pillars, 7 sentences, not a big commitment. These are intentions, not goals. Example, for health, my intention is to ask myself, is this whole food or soul food? And to be patient with my body as I give birth and heal and transform afterwards. Then to nourish, move, relish in, and love the skin I am in unconditionally. So it's not a goal to lose 10 pounds. It's an intention to really love and respect and give my body grace. Now, number 6, we can move on to goals, okay? The best goals are specific. So if you want to make 10 grand a month in income, outline how you are going to do that. So you've got your goal to make 10 grand, and then you're going to get specific on all the ways that you are going to do that every month. X amount, for example, X amount comes from this stream of income. X amount comes from this stream of income. X amount comes from saving this much money. If we don't break down how we are going to achieve something and the action steps required, it's really hard to accomplish our goals. We need to be specific. Make it specific, make it measurable. Also, feel free to do a brain dump here, but I suggest no more than the 3 big goals. For me, I have a financial goal, I have a podcast goal, and then I have a real estate goal for the business I'm creating with my husband. The simpler, the better. I also have a fun goal. So this is one that I just want to incorporate. I have it on my Blackboard in front of me now as I'm recording this. And that goal is prioritize fun and inspiration. I am somebody who can get so focused on trying to reach money goals, trying to reach professional goals, that I can easily find myself with my nose in a book or my body behind a computer for hours and hours and hours on end without coming up for air and really enjoying the life that I'm creating. So I want to make sure that that's something that I really prioritize next year, especially as I ride the wave of bringing a child into the world and all the changes that are going to come with that. All right, the last big thing I want to touch on when it comes to this, owning your worth, owning your theme, setting yourself up for 2022 is a category that I like to call next year will be successful if. So often, and if you are listening to this podcast, you are probably of the same mindset. We do and do and do, and so often forget to look back and acknowledge how much we have done and how far we've come. So this category is something that I created for myself and something that I really recommend you do as well. It's also a way to boost your self-worth by recognizing how much you do. So a few examples for me from this category, okay? 2022 will be successful if I can get into a routine I love with Sam and my baby, and then help if we need it. If I am loving on and taking good care of my body, then this year will be successful. If I maintain my own sense of autonomy and self-worth regularly, not perfectly, but regularly, this year will be successful. If I charge what I am worth on a regular basis, this year will be successful. You get the idea here. I injected a lot of grace into this section as next year is going to bring a lot of changes for me. And I mean, let's face it, life is unpredictable, so it could bring a lot of changes for you too. I don't know what it's like to have a baby, and I don't know the changes that accompany it. And so I highly recommend, just like I did, you inject some grace in this section. Like, if your goal was to make 10 grand a month and you did that 80% of the time, in my book, that's a win. Don't beat yourself up if you don't meet every goal or intention perfectly. We are human and life happens, my friends. We can work hard and do amazing things and still give ourselves grace. We are human and living in a world that can be highly, highly unpredictable. So grace, grace, and more grace in this section. Like, let's work hard. Let's do the things. Let's not make excuses. But if we know we did our best, let's give ourselves grace if we don't quite meet the bar, the high bar that we set for ourselves, okay? So those are the big rocks of setting yourself up to own next year. And I believe these are transferable to whatever you want your theme to be. I also did some other journaling, like envisioning what I want my business to look like in the next 5 years, what I want my home to look and feel like, what I want to be known for, my short-term must-dos in order to build the next chapter, how I want to show up for my husband and my baby and my community on and offline. Friends, beautiful listeners, there's no right or wrong way to create your life. The most important thing, and if you take away nothing else but this from this episode, is that you know you have the power to bring your dreams into fruition. We can let life happen to us, or we can make life happen. And that is why creating time, creating space, writing our intentions, and giving ourselves this moment to breathe and allow ourselves to dream about what we want 2022 to look like is so important. Because again, we have the power to make these choices, to bring our dreams to fruition, to make our lives happen, not allow life to happen to us. If you are interested in going deeper on planning for next year, like I said, I am hosting a Zoom workshop on December 30th. You can get all of that information in the show notes and the link. You can sign up for it there. It is going to be beautiful, and I know the energy that is going to emanate from that will ripple throughout 2022. So please join if you're interested. And y'all, happy New Year, happy holidays, and I cannot wait Oh, I cannot wait to connect with you in 2022 on January 19th.